Hi, I'm Andrew Best, Director of Application Modernization and Cloud Services for Redapt. Man, I've had startups and done the entrepreneurial thing pretty much most of my life. I just always find different things that I feel that could be better, so I go out and try to do it. I guess my career was real career would be starting in the mortgage industry back in 2002 when I didn't know what a mortgage was, and going from there to getting into mobile, and then from mobile just learning a bunch of different industries and kind of how things worked. And this whole social media thing started kicking off. So my business partner and I, Andy Cruz at the time, started a social media marketing agency just randomly because people are asking us how you do certain campaigns and how are so many people linked in with you and networked throughout Facebook and Twitter and all this. So we took that and kind of built that company for about 2.5 years. It was called the Agency Seattle. I know, real original. I get it. We worked with brands like Ducati, LA Fitness. We did the Microsoft Windows Phone launch, a bunch of different campaigns for Microsoft and a bunch of software companies. Really learned how to engage with their consumers and make them basically brand advocates and position the companies as a thought leader. So just from the startup standpoint, moved on from there really to working in mobile apps and still in the social realm though. We branched off and built a company called Brand Buddy, which is a social engagement reward platform for people that talk about your brand or your product. And the more that they talked about it on social media, the more people clicked on it. You get a point for every click that they did, and then you earn enough points you can unlock a reward from that brand. It's still around. It's still going well. I kind of like to build things and then move on to the next. It's never really been about the money per se, because if you get into startups for the money, you're at the wrong business, because 9 times out of 10 you really don't make that much money. You make enough to live the life you want to lead, and that's kind of the beauty about startups is you get to write your own check, but you got to work damn hard to get that check. Next, working on Preferling over the last year and a half, raised a few different rounds. Business partner Seth Talbot is still going long and strong on that. That is, it's a mobile app. It's an interest-based recommendation engine for restaurants. Think kind of like maybe a Pandora does for music or Netflix does for video and movies. We do that for restaurants. That should be coming out actually pretty soon into the App Store, so take a look for it. And this is not a sales pitch, but it'll be a good one. So I guess words of advice for any entrepreneurs. I mean, my whole background, if any of you looked me up, I'm a big networker, right? I love to really meet people and understand what makes them tick and how I can provide value to that person. And that's what real networking is finding value between two people on how you can help somebody versus, a lot of people think networking is out to find something to benefit you, and the end result, it will come that way, but if you approach it in a different fashion. So I always recommend that people, especially entrepreneurs that are looking to start businesses, cast that net really wide and meet everyone you possibly can. I don't care if they're a barista from Starbucks or whoever, a construction worker. Everybody knows somebody, and everybody needs help in some form or fashion, and everybody provides value. You just need to find what that value is and how you can utilize and harness that value from them. So that's kind of my words of advice. I know I was pretty quick on the jump. I was supposed to do about 15 minutes and talk about different things and then get into Q&A, but I really don't have that much more to say. I'd rather answer you guys' questions as they come in. I've got a few right there, but for me, I mean, I can just say being an entrepreneur is about solving problems that mean more to you, right? And fixing those problems in a way that being nimble and on your feet. And that's all an entrepreneur is someone that thinks quick and utilizes resources well. That's about all I have. At this point, I'm opening up for Q&A, so we'll go there. Let me drop this down a little bit, and I'll open this up. All right. I have an awesome idea for a business, but no capital or clue how to build the actual product to get it off the ground. How did you get Preferling started? That's a great question. Once again, it was through my network of angel investors and people like that it's tough. I raised the first round, I raised $50K with myself and an idea. I literally had no talent of coding. I had no pitch deck. I had an idea that was half baked, but I thought it was a really good idea. And I went and started talking to every angel investor that I knew, asking them to introduce me to other angel investors. And then finally, in the meantime, while I was talking to angel investors, I was networking with mobile developers on the idea as well, and seeing, hey, I'm going to have this money. I'm going to get this money. I promise. And once I do, let's kick this off and get prepared. And I lined up the mobile dev that I wanted to use, and then eventually I actually got the money in the bank, got everything set up, and that's how it kind of kicked off. Next question. What should I disclose to my employer when it comes to starting something on the side? That one is a tricky question, right? For me, that's worked out well because I've got a family, I own a home, and it's tough when you don't want to jump full, both feet in right away because, of that situation and making money. It depends on what kind of relationship you have with your boss. I would say if it's just a good idea right now and you don't have capital and you have the resources to work on it on the side. I mean, make that a little bit more baked of an idea and more concrete, and see what you really have before you go and tell your boss, because they may not take it well. But if you're already so far down the line, then, start talking to them then. But make sure you vet it out first before you start talking to your employer. Good question, though. That's a tough one. How do you juggle starting something on the side, a full-time job, and a family, and what do your work days look like? Yeah, that's another good question, because that's what I've done just about the full time. When we had the agency, I did that full time, and that was my only job with a little one. It was a newborn at the time when we started that company, and it's always a struggle. It's always tough. You gotta really balance what is going to give you that more time with your family, but also put food on their plate at the end of the day. A juggle with starting something on the side and a full-time job. That one is, you really need to focus on that full-time job while you're at it. I mean, because that's your employer. That's the person who pays you, and you better give them your full attention in that 9 to 5 or whatever your hours are, and be able to keep that fine line between a job and a startup. And once that bell rings at 5 o'clock, you put on your startup hat, and that's it. And delegate certain amount or certain hours for your family that they know that this is work and it's not play, because it's tough. When you're sitting in your home office or on your laptop on the couch, and your wife wants to do something, or your husband or whoever wants to engage with you, you got to let them know, this is my time, this is business, and this is work, and this is the hours that I work. And just it's really defining those times and scheduling. I mean, your calendar is key in this point. What has made you stay in Seattle and not move to New York or San Fran? Why is Seattle an awesome place for startups? Well, that's an easy one. We're a younger ecosystem, but we have some of the best talent in the world come out of here, right? So there's so many different resources that we can utilize, from the Microsofts of the world or Amazon, all these great talented coders and themselves entrepreneurs, right? But they get the real life experience from working in these big companies. It's just awesome. I mean, you can't beat Northwest. People are always willing to help and go above and beyond here. And, I was born and raised here. I network in San Francisco and I network in New York. I fly there here and there, but there's nothing you really can't do these days. You don't really have to move to a Bay Area anymore like it used to be. To get your startup up and rolling. I mean, if you see how many startups we have coming out of here, it's crazy. And we were just named the number one startup place by Forbes, I believe, just recently. The startup scene in Seattle is growing so fast that we have every company from the Twitters, the Facebooks, the Box. I mean, you name it, they're all moving here to find the talent that we have, right? They've already, to better word, raped and pillaged a lot of the Bay Area to where it doesn't, have the talent. Well, they have the talent, but they're already employed or working on something themselves. So they come here and utilize those resources. How do you act like an entrepreneur in your biz dev role? Well, that's what an entrepreneur is, right? It's acting on your feet quickly, right? And gathering new business. As an entrepreneur, that's all you're doing is a biz dev role. You're figuring out what you need to do to grow your business. And that's what business development is. You're trying to grow a business. You're talking with as many people as you can talk to. You're trying to sell a product, but also develop these relationships so these products or whatever may come in the future. So, I mean, those go hand in hand. If you can't put on your biz dev hat, you'll never be an entrepreneur. Next question. When do you know to move on from one project and go on to another? Oh man, that's a tough one because it's hard to leave a project that you've started and invested in and loved and put your all into and really put your name on it and your seal of approval and everything else and kind of built a brand around that one. It's kind of cheesy, but I guess you know when it comes a point to where you start losing a little bit of the passion maybe, and once you start losing a little bit of the passion for it, it's hard to do something and work that hard when you're not making money at it. So that's kind of at the point to where you have to have that, I guess, come to Jesus moment and say, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to sacrifice other things for this at this point? And when you come up with a question of no or a maybe, that's it's either all in or nothing. So that's kind of the point. And once I have even my pinky toe out the door a little bit, that's when you just have to, cut the ties or go a different way. But, most of the time I still stay as an advisor because you help build that. You still have some sort of passion from it, for it because you did it, but you're not going to be the one leading that charge. So, step down and put someone in place that is going to have the same passion, but also have more of an intensity to take it all the way. Too many startups and great ideas die on the vine because of people doing it half-ass, right? If you don't really commit to it and give it your all, and you see these people, right? If you ever go to FailCon, right, in San Francisco, you've got the biggest companies in the world like Salesforce, and you got Mark Cuban talking there. They only talk about their fails, right? Of living in their mom's basement at 40 years old, eating top ramen every day. And these guys did it, right? And they pushed on. That was the sacrifice that they did. They said, this is going to make it. And if you're not willing to live in a basement and do that and really, max out every single credit card and go into financial debt for that big win, move on to the next because it's not for you. All right. As a pro at networking, what are your favorite online tools for finding awesome people to connect with and then building those relationships? Man, I use everything, but LinkedIn for me is the end all be all when it comes to networking, right? And you really have to master that art, and it takes a long time, but that's open on my browser damn near 12, 14 hours a day, or on my phone. I use certain things for certain things, and that's the probably the key for me is that sort of tool, but also just networking events, getting out there, going to every event that has anything to do with what you are passionate about. Go out there. I mean, I go to just about every startup event, every cloud event, every big data event, every mobile app event, South by Southwest, all the big ones, right? And that's where you really define and build relationships with people is face to face. LinkedIn and tools that are online and social are good for a starting point, but they're never going to build a deep rooted relationship with another entrepreneur that will, bend over backwards to help you or open up their network to help you, unless you meet them face to face and you have that, an honest discussion with them about who you are and why you do what you do, right? Simon Sinek always says it the best. If you haven't heard of Simon Sinek, go watch his TED Talk, because to me that's ultimate. It helps you on sales, but it helps you on everything else in what you do. He said, if people don't believe what you believe, then they're never going to follow you, and it's the truth, right? When you can get someone to believe what you believe passionately, right, you can start a movement from that. So that's kind of how I've always looked at it. The tools are just a byproduct to getting to a face-to-face meeting with that person. Next question. How did you find the tech behind Preferling? Who did you hire and how did you find them? You want all the secrets, all right? How did I find it? I will give a lot of that credit to my co-founder, Seth Talbot, who's still running the company to this day. Seth's brilliant, man. He's come from many different companies and helped build many different companies. And my original idea was, kind of simple. It was finding friends to help with recommendations and blah, 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 blah. And we took it and morphed it from just the friends aspect to really deep diving in people's behaviors and habits and interests, right? What makes a certain person tick. Normally, another person with that exact same interest or whatever you call it will have the exact same taste in certain other things. So that's what we're kind of basing it on, and that's how we came up with it. It's sort of like a Match.com, right? How they take certain interests of people and they have their whole algorithm that matches it with a certain other person of interest, and then they go and date, right? Restaurants and people are literally not different, right? People are very passionate about their food. In fact, I mean, it's like we did our polls, and there's a couple 100 million people out there talking about food all the time, and it's you get that many people that are so passionate that they have to name themselves a foodie. Those are the people that we wanted to talk about or talk to with our app, and that's kind of how it got there. I mean, I don't know if I really answered your question that well, so I'm sorry. But I'll move on unless you type a new one in. Next question. You mentioned you stay on as an advisor. What does that look like? How do you do that logistically? And how do you make sure the person that takes over as a CEO is following your vision and is giving it their all? That's a great question. That is a really great question. You mentioned a stand advisor. What does that look like? For me, it's check-ins, right? So I check in with Seth on Preferling weekly, sometimes daily. It all depends, right? I get the same updates. I'm on the same email strains from the developers as he is. I take a look at all the work. I'm still have a passion for that project, and I want to see it succeed. So how do you logistically make sure that the person takes over as CEO is following the same vision? Seth and I, really helped pivot the company and create that vision together. So his vision was my vision at that point. When I started the company, it was just me for the first 4 or 5 months, trying to figure out, right, putting together all the back end, finding legal to get it, your LLC and then your shares set up, and then getting your logo and trademarking your logo and getting all that put together. But I didn't really think about the end user as much as I should have, and getting an outside perspective like Seth to come in. He took that and just rolled with it and took it a bit further, and then we started bouncing ideas off each other. And that's kind of how you find someone that you have that synergy with, to where you can sit there and just spitball for hours and go back and forth, and then that vision becomes your vision. So when you decide to possibly exit, that vision is already going to live on, because it's the exact same vision that you had. Next question. Good question, though. Hey, Andrew, what are the most effective ways to build meaningful relationships and expand your network? Man, just be honest with people. Really try and go out and find out what people need and how you can actually help them. That's it. Everybody needs help, right? It doesn't matter if you're a CEO of a company, or you own your own landscaping business. It doesn't matter. People are people, and they all react the same way when someone else helps them out. And that's how people will, go across the country and help you out. And if you really, truly are honest with them, they're going to, that's the best way to build any relationship. It's just like between a man and a woman, right? Dating, right? Honesty is key. And if you don't have that when you're talking with someone, people will smell through the bullshit. They will. At the end of the day, that's what happens. I throw a lot of large tech events, networking events, executive networking events, and you can always, within a few minutes, know who's being genuine and who's not. And when they are, you don't help them out. You get that follow-up email, hey, thanks, can you introduce me to so-and-so? And I just respond back with, at this time, I don't feel that this is probably the right moment. I don't see the value in this connection at this point. If you can change my mind in another way, then maybe, but at this point, I don't feel so, right? And that's another thing is, opening up your network. Make sure that when you do that, make sure there's a mutual value between the people that you're introducing. Because if it's one-sided, you're going to kind of tarnish a relationship that you have, because you're not providing any value. You're just helping someone else get a deal through someone else. And it never really works out. Next question. What is the best piece of business advice you've been given? Shoot. That's tough. That's a good question too, because always go for the goal. I don't know at this one. I've gotten a lot of great business advice from. I've got a couple mentors that one was when to step away from a startup that you lose a little passion for. That's one, is either go into it wholeheartedly and be willing to sacrifice everything, or walk away now because you're just wasting your time. That's always been, something I hold really, really key. Another, just like I answered that last question, be honest with people. Honesty is being genuine and honest with people will get you so much further in the entrepreneur world than you would ever believe. Everybody's the same type of person when starting a business. You're scared. You're wondering if it doesn't work. You're excited. You think you're going to conquer the world. Then you think you're going to fail. If you find people like that, be that same person and open up and be honest with them. Also, find a mentor, right? Always look for advisors or mentors, someone who's been there that can talk you off that ledge, someone that could, get you over that next hurdle. But really find someone that you trust, that you look up to, that could just give you advice when you're at your lowest, because being an entrepreneur and starting a company, you'll get down. You will. I don't care what anybody says. You'll get down. You'll get depressed. But you need someone that you can call that says, look, man, I've been there. It sucks right now. But the only thing that's going to make it better is you, and no one else is going to be able to do it but you. Right? Finding those people that'll stand in your corner and give you that pep talk, or will, just to help you out or take you out and get your mind off things, those are the people you need to look for. How do you attract the best people? As team members and just people that influence you on a daily basis. Another really great question. Networking is how you attract the best people. like I said, getting people to believe what you believe. If they buy into your vision or your dream about something, then they're going to follow you, right? And you're going to find those best people. You just have to really crack multiple eggs to find that one that is going to be on your side, true live or die type people. And it's hard to find, but that's why you really have to get out there, and you can't just, hedge your bets on one or two people. Talk to everybody. People think, oh, I can't spread the word about my startup. It's not done yet, or blah, 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 or someone's going to steal my information. Bullshit. People can take your information all day. Another person is already thinking or have thought of your idea. It's not the first to the game that wins, because we've all seen that with MySpace, Facebook, all these other true. It's whoever wants it the most, I would say. So spread your ideas out to the developers. Talk to people. It doesn't matter. People can do what you do or patent it. I mean, that's about it, right? No idea is this genius idea that no one will come up with or isn't already thinking about in their basement or isn't already working on or sketched up. So go out and talk to people about your idea and see who bites, right? Who is like, man, that's actually a good idea. And then comes back with some constructive feedback and says, but if it did this, or what about this? Those are the people that you want to start talking to more and start building that relationship with. And, that's what happened with Seth. Seth wasn't originally supposed to come on to Preferling. He was a co-founder of a company called Atom Orbit. They won a big GeekWire award, another award, all this, and they were doing great. And, he and I just met up one day at this event and started talking, and I was like, congrats on your award. And he was like, yeah, your idea sounds pretty good. I've got these couple ideas for you. And then he was actually supposed to just go to South by Southwest with me and videotape, because he's a good videographer as well. And before we even left, he started just going nuts on the idea, and he started mocking up things because he's an architect as well. And he started putting together all these wireframes and different stuff and introducing me to a couple really great designers. And he's like, I think the design should go this way. And all of a sudden, you just saw the passion in his eyes. And one day he said, can I be co-founder? And I want this, and I want this, and I'll lead this thing to the end. And that's just networking with people and bouncing ideas. Next question. How do you find a mentor for getting your startup off the ground when you haven't made a name for yourself just yet in the startup scene? That can be tough. And it all reverts back to what you're passionate about and finding same people in that arena. It doesn't matter if you've made it or not, but it matters, what your intentions are and how far you're trying to take this thing, and getting out there and asking for advice. People love giving you advice. I mean, I'm sitting here right now on a Q&A with you giving you advice about this, but people do. They like sharing the knowledge that they've gained over the years because it helps people. Find the people that actually want to help their startup scene, right? There's a lot of great people. I mean, especially, the YEC. I mean, if you get a chance to and, apply and, meet the criteria or whatnot, but just reach out to YEC members in general, because most of them are really helpful. I mean, they help me all the time when I try to bounce ideas off them, because they're entrepreneurs. They've been through this struggle. Some of them are still struggling. I mean, I'm definitely one of those. So, find people that are in the same sector as you, but same space, and then reach out to them and be sincere. Say, look, I know I haven't made a name for myself, and I'm working on this type of project. I respect the work that you've done, and I know that you've worked hard to get where you're at. I would love your advice in this area, and just start like that. Don't say, hey, I want you to be my mentor, because no one's just going to jump up and say, yeah, I'm going to take time out of my day to mentor somebody I don't know. But you start asking questions, you start building a relationship that way, and see where that goes. Next question. Networking is so awkward for me. As a college student, going into a room of tech execs, I get nervous. What should I do to break the ice at an event and not end up on the sides the whole night? Oh, okay, I get it. Not being a wallflower all night. Yeah, man, That's a problem for a lot of people. Like I said, I host a lot of these networking events, and I actually seek out those people that are just sitting there by themselves, kind of drinking a beer in the corner. And I'll just go over and say, "Hey, man, how's it going? What are you doing here? What are you looking for? How can I help you?" The best thing I can say is, don't go by yourself, right? If it's really that awkward, find a person that's a friend of yours, that's an outgoing individual. And walk around with him, and as he starts breaking the ice, you interject with what you're really knowledgeable about, and then the conversation will just start being fluid and feel natural at that point. But yeah, I mean, it's tough to just walk up to people and just say, "Hey, I'm so and so, you want to talk about this?" It is a little awkward, but if you make it unawkward, right, just it all depends on the conversation. I mean, to be honest, I mean, I eavesdrop on a lot of conversations in those types of environments where I can hear something that I'm interested in, or I have knowledge around, or I read an article about, and then I'll just interject and be like, "Yeah, well, what about this?" Or, "Did you read this new article in Forbes that was talking about how they're going to do, whatever it may be," and just have an educated conversation at that point, and then you're in that little circle of trust at that moment. But yeah, no, it's tough. I mean, and when all else fails, drink a beer. It's called liquid courage for a reason. Next question. You said you throw a lot of events. What are the best way to ensure people show up to your event? Man, you never know. That's the scary thing about events. I've had I'll get to how, or the best ways that have worked for me. But I mean, I've thrown these large tech events to where I've gotten, 50, 75, $100,000 in sponsorships from Microsoft and all these big guys, and had half attendance there, right? Where it was supposed to be 1,200 people, and I had 600 people show. And it sucks, right? It's a tough blow to your ego. You have to have those tough conversations that you promised a certain amount. And the best way I can say is find influencers in your community that are, I guess, the thought leaders in that space of that event, that particular event, whether it's tech, social, whatever it may be. Look for those guys. Really try to find the people that could benefit from attaching themselves to this type of event, and finding the value that they can get out of the event and showing them the value that they can get out of the event. But it depends on your event. I mean, if you want to get more specific, let me know. I like throwing events, and I have a lot of good insight around that. But social media is always a good friend, right? Watching things go viral. I mean, look at the ice water bucket challenge for owls. Like, I mean, that's all social media right there. It's finding something that people got interested in, and it's just started going to one to the one to the one. Campaigns are always good. Rewards are always good. There's a site called Rafflecopter that I used to use a lot for events to drive attendance. Give away like an iPad or something, but people have to sign up and do this, and they have to have a ticket first. And you'll get hundreds and hundreds of people that'll buy tickets just for this one iPad that cost you $400-$500, but each ticket, say, is $40 or $50. You get 300-400 people trying to get that raffle. You made your money back. Next question. I feel stuck with a great idea and no real idea of how to move it into existence. What's one action I can take this week to move that much closer? Wow. That one, feel stuck with a good idea and no real idea on how to move it into existence. Well, depends on the idea, but what I would do is research, right? We have this beautiful thing called the internet these days that a lot of these other great entrepreneurs didn't have, where you can really dig deep and go on sites like Quora, right, and ask certain questions to people. Go to Founders Dating, right, and see if you can find a co-founder or a developer or a biz dev person, doesn't matter, someone else that it likes your idea. Just post it out there. Like I said, go out, network, and spitball your idea to a lot of people. You'll get so much great feedback when you open yourself up to take in that feedback and just be kind of like I said, open to it, right? Anything that someone says, don't take it as a negative. If someone's like, that idea is horrible, here you go, and say, well, okay, thanks, maybe not for you, right? But someone may, give you a little suggestion. Well, if you change it to do this, that would actually be kind of cool. So that I would just go start talking about your product and see if it does have legs. Maybe it doesn't, but maybe it does. And if you just tweak it a little way. There's a lot more to that question that we could talk about. Next question. What's the best way to follow up with someone I've met at a networking event? For me, I use LinkedIn. Like I said, I will always shoot them a LinkedIn, but make sure you put a message in that invitation to connect on LinkedIn. And once they accept that, then you follow up again with another message saying, hey, thanks for linking in with me. Really great to meet you the other night. Would love to talk about my idea or whatever you guys were talking about at the event a little bit further in detail. You want to grab coffee and just kind of, properly introduce each other that way. And, 9 times out of 10, that's what I always do. It always starts with that quick face-to-face networking, a link or a LinkedIn. They accept it. I send them a message back, and then we have coffee in the next day. Some weeks I will literally have 30 coffee meetings just from people that I've met out there. But you got to also pick and choose the ones that you really want to meet with and have an agenda and make sure that there's value there, right? Don't waste your time and don't waste their time. That's the worst thing you can do with somebody. That time is money and time is a commodity when it comes to being an entrepreneur, because you're always under the gun. And if you're just sitting there to shoot the shit or not bringing any real value that's tangible, man, you're just going to piss off people. So make sure that you got legs. Next question. What advice would you give a spouse of an entrepreneur? Oh, geez. Would you recommend he or she involved in the idea or keep personal relationships personal? Man, that really depends on your relationship. When I'm starting Preferling, my wife actually helped out a lot with the design of the logo. She was very key in that, but we kept everything very separate from that point on. She has her own thing going on. That was mine, but you keep her up to date on the stats. But it really all depends on your relationship. My wife and I's relationship is that way, to where it's, to have to work with her. I don't know how well things would turn out in that point. She would probably take control and beat me up. Who knows? Next question. You said you've had Microsoft and other large companies as sponsors for your event. How did you land those big sponsorships? Picking up the phone and calling them, putting together a really good sponsorship package that really shows the value of why they should come. Making big hype on social media so you catch the attention, tagging them in tweets, out networking. If Microsoft's throwing an event, go to that event, start talking to people, talk about the event that you're going to be throwing and how cool it would be to, if Microsoft got more involved in the smaller networking startup community or whatever your event's around, and then finding the people that actually can allocate those funds and then get an introduction or straight cold call them. That's what I've done most of the time, is had an agenda for why I'm calling them, what value I'm going to really position this event for, and what they're going to get out of it at the end of the day. And I just pick up the phone and I start dialing. Right, and you get a lot of no's, and then you get that one person that says, all right, send me something on that and let's talk. Make sure you have a great follow-up deck that has the different sponsorship packages, whatever they may be. And if you don't have that, there's a lot of resources online, or reach out to other event guys that, maybe you've attended their event and you really like their event. Hit them up and say, hey, ask the exact same question. How'd you get those sponsorships? Or, hey, can I, emulate or mimic your doc that you put together for the sponsorship packages? That's what I've done for a lot of the people. Most of my materials or stuff that I've used is just recycled from another event from someone else that I've gone to. Next question. My partner has just had a baby and she needs to take some time off. I'm thinking she's not coming back. What should I do to potentially let her off easy and part separate ways? Um, yeah, that's a sensitive subject for a lot of people. But that's with that honesty. I think you should just be honest with your partner. Never go around the back and try to find someone to replace, but have that really heart to heart, come to Jesus discussion with them. Is look, I I know if you're in this 100%, we're gonna go and we're gonna make this, and it's gonna be great. At this point, you've got a lot on your plate. You've got your baby, and I don't know if you can dedicate the time. If you can, that's great, but I need to know now so I can start finding someone else that can really, go full time and be this resource for me. And if you can't do it, that's no hard feelings. I understand, but just yeah, be honest, but lay down your side. Don't leave it up in the air at the end of that discussion. Say, I need to know, and if they can't decide, then they're out. Because if, like I said, if you're partly out the door, just get out the door because you're done. Next question. How do you keep track of all your coffee meetings? Calendars. Come on now. We are in the world of Outlook and Gmail and everything else. Most of the time, I will set a lot of coffee meetings back to back at the same coffee shop. Like I will have an 8:30, 9:30, a 10, a 10:30, and so on and so forth. I'll even have a lunch meeting after and then go back to the same coffee shop and have people literally just one after another. And I'll have meetings overlapping on meetings. Pick a coffee shop that you really like, and just know that it's there. I mean, I've woken up sometimes and just gone to my coffee shop to get coffee, and there was someone there waiting for me. So not always does the calendar work, but most of the time it does. But if you keep it consistent, I mean, you'll stumble upon a meeting there. Next question. How do I know if I need a patent or a trademark for my product? I've heard horror stories of new business owners going to trade shows and having their ideas stolen because they weren't protected. Thanks. Yeah, that's tough. Patents are expensive. Unless it's really a proprietary type technology that other people can't just use or replicate, go get it patented. And that's it. I mean, if you're using something or building something with different codes that people can pull anywhere, and it's not like this really crazy coded algorithm that only a few people can build, then it's not that big of a deal, to be honest. People out there, and patents don't always save you. Patents only save you for a little bit on certain things, but people can tweak it and get around a lot of patents. Trademarks are pretty simple. And I would recommend trademarks if you've got a good brand, good logo, good coloring. It never hurts to trademark something. I would say sooner than better, and especially on a patent. Patents take a long, long time. So getting the patent pending, and like I said, they're expensive. So make sure that what you have is truly something of worth before you go spend the money on a patent. Next question. What's your thoughts on fake it till you make it? Not sure what I say to others at networking events. Should I keep it real or speak more in the future tense? I would say keep it real, but talk about kind of where you want to go and why you want to go there. But yeah, you got to keep it real at the events, right? People will know. People want somebody more that's inquisitive about things and are looking to go somewhere or know where they're at versus someone that they can smell through the bullshit. Or if they look you up, everybody can research everybody now, and everybody knows somebody that knows you at some point. And if you fake it a little too hard and someone sees that, you're going to ruin that relationship before it even starts. So I'd say keep it as real as you can be, but show your true side. Next question. When you raised money, you said you didn't have a pitch deck. Who were you pitching? How much did you have prepared as far as setting up the businesses when you pitched? Okay, as far as setting up the businesses, anytime I have any sort of idea, I automatically go find a URL that matches what I want, a good name, whatever it may be, and then I'll set up an LLC for that, just so you can, get that business set in stone. I mean, an LLC costs you $80 depending on what state you guys are in. Um, Getting the domain and everything set up, it can be $20. So you figure $100 will protect you in that sense. So basically, that's what I did with Preferling. And I had a little help from one of my old developers on Brand Buddy. He came in and did some code and a few designs and stuff for free, so that was nice. But then I also leveraged a new contact of mine who put together a explainer video. And basically, it was my idea come to life in this little mini animated video that really helped me sell it, because those little 1 minute explainer videos are great because people then get it, they understand it real well, and they've got something to kind of reference from. So I did that. I went out and basically leveraged this company to get me a free explainer video with the pretense that I was going to raise money from it. And once I do, I was going to buy another video from them. So basically, just let me get back. I lost my train of thought when you raise money as far as. So that's all I really had to pitch with them was that explainer video. I showed it to them, and then I talked to them about my ideas and then what the money was actually going to go for. I already had like I said, a developer picked out, a mobile dev picked out, knew his costs, knew how much it was going to be, already had basically what the money was going to be spent on, already set up. Next question. What business books would you recommend I check out as I grow my business? Well, it depends on your business. It's sad to say, but I don't read a lot of books. I read a lot of online articles and blogs and other stuff. But just, there's a lot of people out there that just go nuts on these, how to build a business type books. But I would just seek out anybody who you respect. Me, I like Richard Branson, right? I like Mark Cuban. I like guys like that they've got a lot of great materials out there if you search their names and how they did it. And go to TED Talks, right? I watch a lot of TED Talks as well. Me, I'm more of a visual person, watching a person's mannerisms and their excitement when they're telling a story about things versus kind of reading quotes in a book. But, I mean, that's fine. My wife is, she'll read a book a day if she had the time to. Me, I just, I'm more of an interactive person in that regard. So I don't know. I'm sorry. Next question. I like the idea of an explainer video. If I don't have a buddy that does that, how much would it cost? Shop it around. You can go. This one I think was like $900 or $1,000 for the second video. They can range anywhere from there's expensive ones out there for like 50 grand that like Salesforce and other cats use. But you can find good people to make an explainer video for pretty cheap. There's also these different services if you are somewhat technical. I mean, you don't have to be too technical, but there's services that you can build and make an animated video, and you can do the voiceover yourself. We actually, Seth did our last one, and it turned out really well. And it's a service for, I think it's like $200 or something like that for an annual service, and you can pump out as many videos as you want. So check that out. Next, after these questions wrap up, really big advice takeaways. Where can you find this after? Where we can find you after this. So I guess I'm almost out of questions at this point. Anybody else on this? I think that was the last one. So big takeaways, I guess. Network. The biggest thing I can tell people is don't underestimate the value of somebody. Everybody knows somebody. Somebody has value. You just need to find it, and you need to harness it, and you need to help people out when you can. Utilize your network to really help out your community and whoever else you're working with. Don't always ask right? Start out with a give, and that relationship will be that much stronger. That's kind of my biggest takeaway or give to you as an entrepreneur. It's tough going down that path, but it's the most rewarding thing when you actually have a win. But going down that path doesn't mean that everyone needs to help you. Help yourself in the meantime and try to help out others while you can. Because when you're at your lowest, those people are going to remember either that you helped them or you just took from them. So that's kind of my biggest giveaway or takeaway. I'm on LinkedIn if you want to connect with me. I love to connect with up-and-coming entrepreneurs, any people in general. I just love to network. So you find me on LinkedIn, Andrew Vest. I'm sure you'll find me. I should pop up on there. Or Twitter at Andrew Vest. So that's about it for me. Anything else? Other than that, I'm good to go.